Hello. We are
Hello.
sharing out. Hoping people come in. I know it's early, but we are here for our first company show with Miss Denise, our special guest, and Samuel. They both, coincidence, are in Florida, so that's pretty cool. Get their intakes on Samuel's report from two different perspectives. So, Sam, you want to start with your questions, and then we will continue.
Well, my two questions, well, obviously, is towards you, Miss Denise, and thank you. What's the moment that changed you during an investigation? Altered your perception, everything. The biggest moment.
In general investigation or something specific?
I guess something like it changed you entirely. I guess specific.
There have been many things that have really stood out. Probably too many to mention in this time frame, but I would say that a lot of the things that we're going to touch on here, probably the cemetery situations, have really been profound. And I was actually just talking to somebody about that today in reference to a location here in our area. So I would say that stands out the most to me.
Can you go more in detail about that?
It's crazy because cemeteries are a place of rest. This is where dead people go. This is where families put their family members. You would think, well, why would a cemetery have a haunting or have an issue? I think it just goes and coincides with, what happens there after the fact, what people do there maybe. If that makes any sense, what people that are living do there after the fact. And there seems to be a lot of that. They go into cemeteries, they do rituals, they do different things. And it's just a whole thing. I feel like it just conjures up a lot of negative energy. Some of my most negative experiences have actually taken place in a place of rest. It's crazy. And we've had that here in our town, to the point where this particular cemetery that we have, even local police officers don't want to go there, at night because of things that have been reported or things that have happened. Mischievous behavior that they can't explain, things that have occurred that can't be explained. So as a paranormal investigator, sure, I've gone out there with a team and we've, checked things out and everything, and I still can't explain what's happening there, if that makes any sense. I mean,
it does.
Don't know where it's coming from and don't know why. So yeah, I would say some of the most profound, catch you off guard, not sure things have happened in cemeteries.
That I do agree. That I do.
It's crazy, but it's happened to me. I don't know about anybody else, but yeah, definitely.
It's happened to me a few times here in Maryland. My daughter has the same ability as I do, and she wants to learn. And I felt the most calm place to learn was a cemetery because it's the place of rest. Not at all that case at all.
Tends to be very active, and anybody with gifts or anyone that is sensitive, and I myself am, or I wouldn't be doing this, definitely a more heightened awareness, and just very oddly how this happens. And as this program continues tonight, it will shed more light on how profound that really is.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So Sam, what's your second question?
Like I said, this is my second one. What is the moment that gave you the most sense of pride you've ever had during an investigation?
Well, I'm currently dealing with a case that, has all the earmarkings of potentially something a little bit more menacing. Mm-hmm. It's actually gotten to the point now where it's involving the church. Depending on how long you've been doing this or how many cases you've had, church does not get involved in every one of these cases. And there's certainly a lot of work to be done in order to get it to that point, because you have to have a tremendous amount of evidence or proof that there's actually something happening. This case has by far taken everything to a whole other level. And we're actually going back to it on Saturday to finish up the information, to forward that to the church, to make sure that when they send the demonologist out, that he has everything he needs to move forward with what they need to do. I can tell you that from the minute you walk in the door in this, it comes across like there's nothing going on. As soon as I step foot in there and I place a piece of equipment on the floor, it's almost like it comes right out to introduce itself. It's an immediate backlash and almost like a slap in the face kind of deal. And then from there, it just goes wild, one extreme to the other.
Wow.
Case in point, this is crazy, but if you sit at the kitchen table, which is round, oval shape, you can put a K2 meter on the table and you don't even have to do anything from there. It's like everything just starts communicating with you at the table. When we first went into the home, we asked the homeowner, after we figured out a few things, that maybe they should get rid of the furniture that was in there because it was left behind. And I've been dealing with local police and everything just to try to find out if something happened there that can say anything, like a murder or anything. Nothing. No. But there is a cemetery right across the street. I don't think, well, I don't know, because, this was a family cemetery. The guy was a doctor, and this town goes way back to the early 1800s. I mean, I would not say that there was anything there, but it might have something to do with prior tenants that lived in this home, and what they did that might have opened up doors and left things behind. And that's where we are right now. But it has taken its toll on the health of the homeowner. It changes the personalities of the people that are in there. The animals act adversely, especially the dog, very outwardly. And it makes you just wonder. We've got recordings that are pretty outrageous. We have one that was presented to the church, and it says, "Fear the prince." So the priest's question is, fear of the prince, the prince of peace, or the prince of darkness? What are we fearing here? Yeah, what should we be concerned with in this? We have some images that we're going to post this weekend after our investigation that we're just holding back right now. We're going to put them on YouTube. But a full body comes right into camera. It's solid white, and it's very identifiable as far as it looks like a male. Really crazy stuff. But the responses and all of the equipment, the meters, the recordings, I do a lot of the ask the questions and do the playback, because you can't hear it. You know what I'm saying? You have to ask and then wait and then go back and listen and see if you caught it. Some of the responses are just like, whoa. Wow. Yeah, really crazy. So this particular residence is very tricky. And I think once we leave this home this weekend, this will be it for us, because once they step in, there's no turning back. They step in. Exactly. They're not going to give the family an exorcism, but they may do something to the home or the property. And then you don't want to go back in and reopen and rehash. No. You have to walk away. Exactly. You got to let it all settle down and calm. Right. And hope for the best. Yeah. Absolutely.
Very nice. So did you want to talk about your team and how you guys started and met?
Well, believe it or not, whether I look old enough to say this or not, I don't know, but I started doing all this paranormal stuff well over 20 years ago, and I was just solo. It was me. As time went on, my children, I have 2 daughters. They were very young, but both have gifts of their own in their own way. And they got involved and helped me out. I used to call them the back watchers. They didn't do a good job all the time, but they tried. And then as time went on, in 2004, I moved to Tallahassee when I left South Florida. I started thinking about the whole idea of starting a team and then going from there. So in 2010, I was still living there, and I had a team. I started it. The team has fluctuated over the years as far as the amount of people that we had. I went from having 8 members down to where we are now, 4 members, which is fine because it really does work better for us to have less. Less is better for sure on the cases, not as much energy and activity. So there are 4 of us. There's LaDonna, and she is a second lead investigator. There's Chris, and there's my husband, Cliff. And we all work together as this group that is Paranormal Investigators of North Florida. And so I've just been doing it forever. And most of our investigations and cases are in-home investigations. And we investigate anywhere in Florida if called. And we have gone into Georgia. So, I'm not traveling and going any further at this time because of many reasons. We all went through COVID and then now the gas and all that good stuff. But I figure my home base is here, and if I get cases that I can't deal with, then I call other people in other places and try to hook them up in their states where they're at. Right. Absolutely. Oh, so that's really how it all got started. And it really started like from a young age with me. A lot of it was, I guess my mother thought that I had an imaginary playmate. She used to refer to him as Davy Jones from the Monkees. I'm like, seriously? Like, you really think it's Davy Jones, huh? And we laugh about that now because she knows better. It's not Davy Jones. But it was later identified to me over time and through a really well-known psychic. His name was Tony Grasso, and he worked out of Hallandale in Hallandale, Florida. And he met up with me one day. He said, you got something, don't turn it away, just accept it. And he told me I had a spirit guide, and he strongly suggested that I learn how to communicate with the guide. And so I identify her as the name Agnes. And as we get into this a little bit more, I'm writing a book. So she will be mentioned in the book. And she's my guide. I mean, that's, I don't know. She and I I guess we work together, sort of.
Oh, nice. Yeah, it's always good to have a guide, kind of help you out there.
And my mother asked me, like, how'd you come up with Agnes? I'm like, I didn't come up with Agnes. That's the name that was presented to me. Yep. It wasn't Davy Jones. It was Agnes. And we just laugh about that.
Early 20th century with the name Agnes. That's normally, that was pretty common, depending on your geography, but that was pretty common back in those days.
And it's funny that you should say that because as I was doing the research for my book, which is mostly going to be my cases, I went to research the name Agnes, and it really dates back to a really early time, talks heavily about the Catholic religion and different things. And I was pretty taken back by it, and I actually met up with an Indian shaman one time, and I said to him, how come it wasn't an Indian guide? How did I get Agnes? He's like, never question where this comes from. If it's given to you, you accept it and you deal with it.
Do you ever wonder if your guide is like an ancestor or something?
I mean, I don't know. I never gave that any thought. If it was or wasn't, I just know that the way it was presented to me, it was weird how it came about. I mean, because, children talk to themselves sometimes when they're young and they play. But for me, I wasn't really talking to myself. It was almost like I can hear somebody talking back to me. So if you ever watch any of our video, I'm the one talking to spirit. Somebody asked me just the other day, well, how do you know they're talking back to you? Because I can hear that. Right. It's weird. I hear it. So if I hear it, that's how I know. And then sometimes you need the help of a recorder because you don't hear everything. Sometimes it comes across as a very muted or static. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you know what I'm saying. Yeah. So it's not always exactly like you and I are talking, but you just know because there's a different vibration and a different feeling in the room for sure.
Oh, yeah. So you can definitely tell the difference when something else is there.
And I never really thought I would talk openly about this on any platform like this, but you know what? A lot of people have asked the question, what really got you here? Might as well be truthful.
Why not? Right.
Might as well.
Just like my mother just said, and that's Aunt Riri in here. She mentioned that my daughter, Rosie, and her little spirit friend, Margaret. Well, that's a funny story because she's been begging. She's got a little 7-year-old, Miss 8. She begged for the longest time to go with us on an investigation. With her being so young, I said no. Okay. But we went to Ocean City, the old drive-in, and it was during the day, just a fun little exploring, and went and saw the big screen and everything, and we wound up leaving. Everything was fine. We all had a good time. And then the day after, I noticed something was different, and so did my husband. Well, my daughter decided, she's got the abilities I do. She's young, so she's like a sponge at the moment, learning. And she picked up this little girl, Margaret, that attached to her, and she's been with us ever since.
Yep. And that's pretty much how it happens. And, like even with clients, when you go to their homes, they've got attachments, and they don't realize what's in their homes, or they don't know where it came from.
Yeah.
Some paranormal investigators believe in portals, some don't. Some believe in attachments, some don't. Some believe in orbs, some don't. It's to each his own on that. Because I call this paranormal research. You're always learning. There's always trial and error, and there's room for mistake. And I try to do as much insight or history searching before I actually get into it. And there are cases that I've refused because I simply know from the very beginning there's nothing to them. I have had a case in Palm Beach County that was strictly an attachment based on someone going to a flea market and bringing home stuff. I almost got attacked. I almost got attacked by a pit bull that day in their home because the dog went nuts, and he was basically coming right at me, and I was backing down a hallway. And as I got to the very back of the hallway, my oldest child at the time was sitting there just horrified, like, oh my God, my mother's going to get attacked. And within 2 seconds, the door flung open in this house and it slammed. And the dog went from drooling and wanting to attack me to falling on the floor and whimpering. And I immediately turned around and I looked over at this chair that was sitting there, and I asked them, I'm like, you've told me everything that's happened here, and I believe you after what just happened to me. I'm like, but where did you get that chair? Right. And she's like, we picked that up at a flea market. The dog would never go near the chair, and they knew that. They had a problem with that. She took the chair and she threw it out the door. They never had another issue. But come to find out, about 6 months after all that happened, they did move out of the house because they started getting reoccurring activity. So, you know what I mean? It's just one of those things. And as far as the guides and all of that, I mean, it is what it is, and I believe they're there to protect you. So,
I believe it.
If your daughter's got something like that going on, then it's a protection for sure.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
We've already talked to little Margaret, and she did give us one scare. We went to place Fort Howard. No, okay, Fort Howard, and we were going during the day. They got a playground and the big guns and whatnot. It's a war thing. So we wound up going there, but on the way, she likes to take naps. So I was like, all right, cool. She's young. She's going to take a cat nap on the way. She would not wake up.
Wow.
She would not wake up. I kept hollering, Rosie, Rosie. Well, Rosie was no Rosie. It was Margaret that took over Rosie. So I wound up hollering, Margaret. And she was, huh? What? And I was like, I started screaming. I was like, no, this is not okay. No.
Yeah, so, it's not okay. No. You got to look at it this way. I don't know if you agree, and I'm sure you probably will. whenever there's a situation, even like the case we're dealing with that I just discussed with you, usually, I mean, let's face it, they're dead. Mm-hmm. They're really not in the physical world anymore, but their energy is. And so they're looking for a vessel.
Oh, yeah.
And that's where you get that real deep attachment where people wind up saying that they get sleep paralysis and they feel like things are trying to get in and do things to them. And I don't make this stuff up because there's shows out there like The Haunting and everything else, and they hone in on that. They specify, the sleep paralysis, the incubus, and all these things that can happen. Yeah. And so it's real stuff. I mean, a real heavy attachment or something that gets really too close, and a child is very innocent. They're always looking for a vessel, and then there's a way to keep them at bay, to keep them from doing things like that. And that is boundaries and knowing your limit. And then if you're doing this and you like to do research and you like to be an investigator, you need to learn how to protect yourself, because it's real. And I've seen people have serious problems. And honestly, I'll be straight with you. We don't claim to know everything. And I try to stay away from cases that go over the top in the demonic end of things, because I don't feel like that's my real area of expertise where I want to deal with that so much. We'll go out there and get a baseline on it like we've done with this. And if we feel that it's something more serious, I hand it over to other people. I have a demonologist that I work with that's out of Ottawa, Canada, and we do a lot of things like this, that we can talk. But he can't get here. You know what I'm saying? So
right.
Find people that are truly qualified, because everybody says they can do it. But what if they really can't do it? And you got a problem.
Exactly. I know Tom asked if he can ask the question, so I'm waiting for that. If anybody else in the chat has a question, go ahead and throw it out there. Put it in the chat, and I'll read it off. You want to give a little light on how did you start writing your books? When did you start doing that?
I'm already published. So my first book published in 2009. I published a couple years later, and then a few years after that. Believe it or not, each of my books that I've wrote, they are different genres altogether. This whole thing with the paranormal, I kept saying, this will be my last book. This will be my last book. But I have to back up because there's another grandchild that I have to write a book for. I've been asked to do a continuation of the previous children's book, and then they want me to finish another cookbook. It's like, you know what? I don't got time for all this. But my heart was into wanting to really put my legacy, my work, everything into this book, which would be solely based on all of my experiences through the last 20-something years, including my cases from wherever I've been throughout my journey, talking about Agnes and the whole 9 yards. But like I said, I'm already published 3 times. So this is just another book. And that's what really just made me decide to go for it. I've been asked to do it by many people. They're like, why don't you just, on your next book, why don't you just do this? So I'm working on it, halfway there.
Very nice. There. And if people are looking for your books, where can they find it?
If you're looking for any of my books right now, they're available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, anywhere books are sold, Google Play Store, any Android app, any iPhone app, Walmart.com, everything. All you got to do is put my full name in and you'll find my books. You'll find everything about me all over the internet. It would just have to be my full name because, like I said, the cookbook, it was Let's Eat, and there's a million books out there, Let's Eat. So you got to put my name in. And then the other 2 children's books are The Story of the Day You Were Born and The Adventures of Willow Spider and Friends. That particular book is actually in studio getting ready to become an audiobook. So I am waiting for them to get back to me on that so that the Adventures of Willow Spider and Friends will go audio. And as far as the paranormal, we might try to go audio with that too. I think that would be really cool to have it in studio and have it professionally read. It just depends on how big the book is, because I'm not trying to write a novel. But then every time I look back to how many more cases I have to write about,
Mm-hmm.
They just keep getting added into the fold. So I have to draw the line somewhere. I'll be writing until I'm 100. I don't want to do that. I want to publish it.
Yeah.
And I just, the only thing I'm hung up on, a lot of people are probably wondering, well, what's the name of the book?
Yeah,
What's it
that's some Anne Rice stuff.
I don't know what to name it,
that.
so I don't know what to name it. I'm all over the fence with it. I have not come up with a name. Not yet.
Oh, it will eventually come. I was going to put your YouTube in here, but I can't seem to find the link in our chat. So people can follow you over there.
It's under Paranormal Investigators of North Florida, and it should be up there. I mean, you should find it.
It's in our chat somewhere.
There you go.
Sam, do you have any more questions? I did put your full name in the chat, so if anybody is looking to check your books out, it's there. I do highly recommend it. I did, and they are some pretty nice books.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. And as soon as I find your, or you can put the link in the chat as well. Oh, no. As soon as I said it, I found it. Paranormal Investigators of North Florida.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. Any other questions, Samuel?
What is the funniest moment you had during an investigation? The funniest?
Oh, well, I don't know if you would call this funny, but for me it is. And if she's watching, she's not going to laugh about it. But we were doing a case in Tallahassee, and it was at a residence that, I've had a lot of issues at. So my team member, LaDonna, she's a hoot. If I didn't have her, we would never laugh, but we do, because she always finds a way. Between her and my husband, it's like a comedy hour before we get to a case. And then I have to be like the school teacher to get everybody in order, because if not, we're a hot mess by the time we get there. But we were on this case, and they were setting up cameras in the house. So there was an armoire, and similar to this case behind me, and it had a lip on it. So it had like a wide ledge where the camera could sit stationary but not go anywhere, just do its thing. So we thought. And we have it on our page somewhere on Facebook. I didn't put it on YouTube or anything because there's a lot of, you can't hear anything in the background. But we're all standing there and we're doing our thing. And all of a sudden, there is this loud bam, and the camera goes airborne, and it almost hits her like in the head. Like it's just inches away.
Wow.
That is not funny, but the reaction on her face was priceless. She just did this. Did you guys see that? You got that on film? Did you catch that? And it was the way she did it. I swear it took everybody about 20 minutes to get their composure back together. If we didn't capture enough evidence before the camera went airborne, we probably lost the rest of it that night, because even the spirits were probably like, these people don't know what the hell they're doing. It was hysterical. It was hysterical. Her reaction was priceless. And I told her, I said, the next time we do stuff like this, keep your body out of the way of the camera. We've had a couple other incidences too, that, were blooper moments, I think you can call them. But that one with LaDonna was just, you couldn't have rehearsed that any better.
It was just a natural thing.
It's like Spirit was like, you know what, lady, I'm going to show you that I'm here, and we're going to see how you react. And she reacted. Reacted.
Apparently really good.
Yeah, really good. I mean, there was no faking it. She was like, oh my God, I almost got killed by the camera.
That'd be one hell of a story to say on the afterlife, if you think about it. I got killed by a camera. What else can I say?
Exactly.
Right? I'm here because I was paranormal investigating and a camera,
Yeah.
We like having her here, though, so we're going to try not to let that happen again.
Yeah. No.
Oh, God. But that's all I can think of for the moment. I'll probably think of something else whenever it's too late.
So jumping into Cassadaga, do you have any experiences or have you investigated there?
Well, to be honest with you, I think this is how Samuel and I kind of connected, is through the conversation regarding Cassadaga somewhere on Facebook. And we were all in an area answering questions on this. And everyone has a difference of opinion regarding Cassadaga. For me personally, I think it's if you're talking about the spiritual community itself, I think it's a vortex without a doubt. And if you have any gifts at all, you're completely energized and illuminated when you walk in there, because people were just attracted and following me around, and I didn't even know why. I met a couple of my own clients there because of it. One in particular, and I won't mention her name here, but yeah, that was pretty interesting. But going back to the cemetery there, and the Devil's Chair and all of that, I was there one day, not with my team. I had gone into the DeLand area to visit. But I'm never on just a visit. I'm always doing something when I'm gone. And it was my husband and a friend and myself and his girlfriend. We were out there in the cemetery. And for some reason, the two of them wandered off, or at least so I thought they did. But they just suddenly became very far from where I was standing. I suddenly found myself standing there alone, and it kind of felt really eerie. So I took my phone and I just started filming around me to see what was going on. And then all of a sudden I look and I see the chair. In my head, I'm thinking about what was said to me by somebody who was with us beforehand when I said that I might want to see what this looks like. He says, "Oh, I've seen pictures of it. It looks like a barbecue grill." I'm like, it's not a barbecue grill. So when I honed in on it, I was by myself. And as I walked closer to it, I kind of became a little bit more resistant. Like I didn't want to go that close, and I didn't want to touch it. I didn't want to get near it. And again, people are very skeptical. Some people say, "Oh, there's nothing. You guys are crazy." And then some people say they've had experiences. So I got close enough where I could get a picture. And I was taking pictures of some of the headstones and stuff in there. And then all of a sudden, out of the corner of my eye, I caught a glimpse of like a very dark, solid, shadow, just like going past me. And it was almost like, a warning not to go any closer, stay away from that. And, I wanted to get closer to it. I wanted to get close enough to get better pictures of it. But there was just something there that was telling me, no, don't go any further. And so I listened to that, but I felt a little off, if that makes any sense, because as I was walking away from it, I found myself standing there and I felt a little nauseous and I felt a little lightheaded, and I didn't quite feel myself for just a few minutes. And then I started looking for my group, the people that I came with. And the next thing I know, they're like all the way on the other side. So as I was walking away from the spot, I still kind of felt a pull to go back, but I just continued to walk away. I never really put two and two together, and I never, ever questioned why did that happen. I wasn't out there investigating, but the whole scene just fell off to me, and I just wasn't comfortable about it. And that was really my one experience there, and I have stated that I'm going to go back, because my team would like to go as a full team. But, I did hear of a story, and I think I shared this with you guys already. I can't confirm it to be true or not, but I had heard that, there were some children that were out there and they were jumping around on this thing, playing in that area, and their family was from out of state. They were visiting the location. 3 days later, they left to go home, and they were in a car accident. And these children were, not good in the car accident. Did it have anything to do with that? I can't say. There's a lot of people that go through that area between the I-4 corridor, between Orlando, Daytona, DeLand, St. Augustine, because let's face it, St. Augustine is crazy too. There's all kinds of stuff there. So I mean, if you're looking for action, Florida's got it. It's everywhere.
I definitely believe it. We've done research.
But the whole cemetery situation and all that, there's no doubt in my mind that there's stuff lingering there.
Oh, some place you can go to in DeLand, it's no big deal. And then there's the surrounding DeLand area and everything. If you were to, I do have an Instagram account and everything. If you were to take a look at the stuff that I have on there, you'll find some interesting stuff. There's a place called Lake Helen. And Lake Helen, I went over there, and me and a friend, wonderful person, over the top, one of the best friends I've ever had. We go in there, and we start. She starts shooting pictures, and we're sitting there looking at this and that. And then I start shooting pictures, and if you ever see my Facebook and everything, you're going to see this illuminated tree. It looked like lightning hit it. And just hardcore hit it. It's yellow, white, and all kinds of things. 1 second later, I take another one, not a peep, nothing else. And that's like a dime a dozen story whenever you're in Central Florida, depending on your geography. But you can sit there and you can look at other things. Like if you guys are interested one day, not one day, Linda has a bunch of pictures I took of Cassadaga at night. I took the night tour. And the night tour was hardcore, like, wow. And the orbs and this and that. And then
that's actually going to be the ending video here.
And then there's one I should have shown you, Miss Denise, but there's one I took at a cemetery. I took this one at. And it had this pinnacle. It also had a pinnacle, a German eagle, and also a guild mason symbol on it. And it said he was an elder in the Presbyterian Church. All that on one headstone, and I started thinking, I would have loved to have freaking coffee with this guy and pick his brain.
Right.
Yeah, interesting.
And it's funny that you should mention the orb situation even at night there. Again, some people believe, they don't, whatever, to each his own. But I did see something there as well. Aside from the black shadow, I noticed that there was something, and I have a picture of it somewhere, but it was solid. I mean, like solid. And I don't want to hear it was a bug. And it was nothing like that. This is broad daylight. You could see it with your eye. And it just moved ever so slowly. And then it just was gone, And I thought to myself, wow, that's some serious energy if that's what that is. A lot of people say, can you see orbs in the day, or can you see stuff like that? We did a case here in our area, and it was out at Rosewood. If anybody's familiar with Rosewood, there's a full documentary of it. It's all over the internet and everything. But we have a photo where it's just sunlight coming down, and you can see it sitting right there. And it was captured on camera. And it was just staring right at us, just sitting there. So I believe, yes, they can be seen during the day if they're authentic. And what else could it be? I mean, I know what a dragonfly looks like, so definitely wasn't a dragonfly. But yeah, I've witnessed something like that out at that Devil's Chair, and I don't know, Samuel, if you can, confirm that circumstance there. But I mean, it creeped me out, and I didn't like it, so I wasn't about to go sit in the chair.
Well, I've got one friend of mine. Wonderful, wonderful person, over the top. I love her half to death, like a little sister. And I was telling people, I've told people in the past, don't ever say, if somebody decides to talk about things, I tell them never to sit in a chair and this and that. Well, my friend, before she met me, wonderful person made a bad call and sat in it like she was having the greatest time on earth and everything. And according to legend, depending on your point of view or what you've heard, whenever you sit in it, you get a minor miracle, a very minor miracle. But the thing is, it's according to legend, it takes your soul and everything. Now back to what, yeah. Well, whenever she sat down in it, she had a good time and this and that. People photographing her. Literally 2 months later, she starts having tons of health problems, tons and over the top tons of health problems. I'm going to give her some amount of privacy, but so many of these problems she has were never apparent before she sat in the chair. One bad stroke of luck after the next, it just doesn't stop. I heard about one guy, he was in a nasty car accident, such a nasty car accident, it brutally chopped off his leg, literally from the shin itself, cut off his leg. They had to dramatically subdue him with, I can't remember the medication, but they put him out. Like you said, all that was left of that part of his leg was skin that was holding the bone and the muscle. That's how bad it was. And over and over again, you hear about this stuff and people sitting in it.
That's like what I said about the children, I cannot recall who told it to me, so I don't even know how factual it is, but it really coincides with stuff that you're saying. And
this is going to add up to a little bit different, but sitting on a chair, whenever I never have no desire to, but this is foolish on my part, but I didn't sit in it. According to legend, depending on who you ask, every single morning people get up and they go there. Every single morning you find ash on the seat of the chair. Literally every single morning. That should tell you something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. That's crazy.
Oh, it's Central Florida in these parts is very interesting, and it never stops. The stories you hear all the time. It's just you got to know where to look. But whenever you find that sort of thing, you're really going to find it. And like I said, Central Florida is a hotbed for that. And,
it is.
Mm-hmm. And you find a whole collection of people through thick and thin of the metaphysical community all over the place. Now you go to other places of the state. No, I am not about that. And then you go to South Florida, maybe. Central Florida, no, I do not want to talk about this. I don't need nightmares, and that's a lot of people, and that's a lot of people. But the metaphysical community in Central Florida is strong,
very strong.
Mm-hmm.
Very.
And so most of us are there for each other. There are those who don't give a crap about anyone or anything else. But the thing is, most of us, most of the time, know where to look for one another. And so that's how it goes there.
Yeah, and I think too, when you talk about Central Florida, I'm over here on, the west coast of Florida. I'm parallel directly across from St. Augustine, maybe within 2 hours and change. Mm-hmm. Everything around me rolls right back to Indian burial. Mm-hmm. If you do check out our YouTube channel, you can go to our videos that we filmed in 2019. It was a 16-series web series. The trailer's posted at the top of the page of our YouTube, but then it goes into different videos. Now, don't get me wrong. I've posted other stuff since 2019, but you can find the videos of this trailer because the segment's called Haunted Florida. And we have a video there that talks about the Sandler house in Palm Beach. And it was kind of like a sizzle trailer that was done. And the homeowner agreed to be interviewed in that segment. And I want to make clear that if anybody's watching this and they roll up on the video where it talks about the Sandler house in Palm Beach, which is a yellow home, and then it gets into the fact that I only have 4 team members, that was done strictly for a sizzle reel that we did. But the story that comes out of that by the homeowner, everything that she describes when the production person did this, all of the video content behind it is actual stuff. There were graves there, and a big swatch of property near the Lake Jackson area was dug. And during the time that it was dug to make residential areas, whatever they dug out of the ground, all of that was distributed along the land masses, and the homes were built on top. So, yeah. So all of that content was dug up and distributed. We're not talking, I don't think they were referring to like bones and stuff like that. But let's face it, everywhere you go these days, because of such great population, they're building on every stretch of property. And even in our area, there is a cemetery that a road now runs through. Well, back in the day, I'm pretty certain with everything in me that the cemetery connected from the left to the right side of the street, and then they just put the road through, because when they started to clear the other side to put a development in there, guess what happened? Headstones started popping up all over the place, and now the whole build is on hold. You know, it goes back to that movie Poltergeist. You can move the stones, but if you don't move the bodies, they don't do you no good.
No.
New Orleans is a perfect example of this, because there's stuff under the ground there. And I mean, especially Indian burial, it's very sacred. You know, that's a very sacred and a very fine line. You don't, first of all, you shouldn't even step on a grave to begin with. It's just total disrespect. But on an Indian burial site, you shouldn't even be messing with that. My husband's family in Kentucky, one of his aunts owned a large swatch of property. And I remember walking through this 65 acres. And off on the side, his uncle would say, "See that right there? That's an Indian grave." And you can tell because of the way it was. They were never touched. But then after they passed away and the family sold off the property, guess what? Development comes in. So, and I do believe this is another reason why we have haunted locations sometimes, different things that happen, because, you know, graves are either removed or desecrated, and depending on how you want to deal with that. You should never desecrate a grave, no matter what it is.
No.
Well,
you know,
that's disrespecting not only the what was living and now is soul into, you know, and then they're just going to stick around until something's built and then make everybody's life miserable because
exactly.
they were disrespected.
And again, it comes back to the fact that we can't change that population is changing and that they are moving stuff. But if you ever check out those videos, the homeowner speaking there, that's real deal. That's very authentic. That's actually the same house where LaDonna almost got cracked in the head by the camera. But she's telling stuff that has been researched. So it's not been fabricated in any way. And Lake Jackson sits within less than just not even a 3-mile section of her house.
Well, I've heard of something. I did some day stuff, but there's a graveyard in the land, more like Lake Helen DeLand area, very close to it. Now, you've heard of I-4, the road of death, as I call it. Yeah. But there's a graveyard. There's a graveyard that they segregated, even that, unfortunately, how wrong this was, but they segregated black people from white people from each other, even after death and everything. And so I don't know the exact same amount of circumstances, but I went over there and there was this graveyard, and I went over to it. And keep in mind, there's been a lot of accidents on this area. I go in there, and I'm showing Linda on somewhat of a bright broadcast, and I'm showing these graves and this and that. People that are sensitive, or anybody who saw it sensitive-wise, they're just like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I mean, Sam, can you turn around? Can you turn around? Let me see that. Stop the camera. Stop it. And it's just like talking to a 3-year-old. No. And so Linda's sitting there seeing this. No, Sam, stop. No, go back. No, go forward. And so no, like I said, talking to a 3-year-old. So I would be doing that. But keep in mind, my friends, we're doing that. But the thing was, we're taking a look, and then we see some gentlemen. So we're leaving. I ride a scooter, which I love that thing and everything. And so we're taking a look. We're taking a look at it, and then unfortunately, we see a no trespassing sign. I'm like thinking, and these gentlemen in a big red pickup truck, and we're talking big, about 4 people in the bed of it, and about 3 people in the front. We're like, okay, we can no longer come back here. Now, here's the thing with the research and everything. Keep in mind, like I said, I call I-4 the road of death for a reason. So I'm doing some research in this and that, and comes to find out that was only half the graveyard, only half of it. The other half, they expanded I-4 ages ago, and right over top of the rest of the graveyard, over top of it. And the thing is, you're sitting there on that road. You're sitting there near that road, and every so often, and they celebrate. This is how bad it is. They celebrate whenever there's only 7 fatalities during the day. If there's only 7, they think it's something to celebrate. And that's I-4 for now. And so, yeah, that's bad. And let's be honest here, not everybody's the best of drivers. I'm not. But the thing was, we're sitting there reading this and that and everything. And the graveyard has been abandoned from the late 80s to the early 90s. Most people are not there. And we would have loved to have done, me and my friend would have loved to have done a full-scale investigation. But those gentlemen in that big red Ford pickup truck let us know that we should not come back. And especially with the gun rack in the back, that tells you something.
Exactly.
So it's like So I don't want to depart from the world in that sort of way with what they would do.
I'm sure you are familiar because you're in Florida with the whole corridor between Sanford and the Orlando area of what usually happens there. Some people say they have no experiences at all. I've lost total communication on that part of the road. I know truck drivers that have, that I've interviewed and asked questions to. Have you ever had an experience? Because some have and some haven't. But there are truck drivers that have gone completely offline in that section of there. And I did the research, and I'm sure a lot of people have. There was a family that was there at one time, a home site or something. And correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not fully prepared to talk about it. But it kind of makes sense, people say, well, maybe it's the towers, maybe it's something else, but it's gone on for too long. I don't know about that.
I call it the cell phone Bermuda Triangle.
And it did. That was my first thought. It was like, God, this is like the Bermuda Triangle, and I've never been in it. But if you are not from Florida, or even if you are, you could stand right off the beach in Miami and look straight out, and literally dot, dot, and dot. You draw your own triangle from the coast to the coast, and you got your triangle so many miles off.
Or the redneck Bermuda Triangle, whatever you want to call it. And it's a dime a dozen story. It's so common, whatever. Whenever cell phones were really getting big, oh my God, what happened? This and that. Nowadays, there are parts of Florida, they call it complacent. It's like, no big deal, whatever, we're just going to lose signal. But then there's other parts where, oh my.
Oh, he froze. Samuel! So I'm waiting for him to come back.
See what happens when we talk about something like this, and now he's frozen. There he is.
There he is. He's back.
They forgave you and let you come back to speak.
Well,
that's what happened.
Well, the thing is, most every single person says either I'm weird or I'm different. And I agree with them. I am a strange person. I really am. But the thing is, whenever it comes
Nothing
to
wrong with that.
But whenever it comes to ideas of thinking of this and thinking of that, it gets weird. But for some reason, all the time, it can revolve around the metaphysical in so many ways. And what powers us through this and through that, we have to get used to and be prepared. And so, like I said, in regards to you, I would adore meeting you and your team. I would love that. And
I you both froze for a second there now.
Is this working now?
What's going on?
Are you working?
Us, Sam?
But you have to remember something. You go over there, Central Florida, it depends on where you look. Now, if you keep looking enough, you're going to find some people that are strange, weird, and unusual. And certain parts of the country, like the Panhandle, you tell them certain faith beliefs, they don't care for that too much. Now, you go to Central Florida, so that's the attitude. So,
yeah, it varies in Florida without a doubt. The southern tip of Florida is very multicultural and very, everybody's there. They don't care who you are. As you get closer up, you get more into smaller towns and tighter things, different belief systems. Even when I first started doing this where I'm at, I was worried how it was going to be perceived, but I know what I do and I know what it is. And we also do events and different things like that. So we participate within the community. I don't charge for my services, and we do workshops. When we do the workshops, they're a little different. But it's just wide ranged all over the state. Every area has different ways of doing things, different belief systems, different religious beliefs, a lot of stuff like that. And I respect all the territory because, I just do. And as far as metaphysical science is concerned, I've studied metaphysical. I have, I've got a degree under my belt in some metaphysical science. So, I have researched every religion under the sun. I've looked into everything, everything from the Bible to the Quran to Buddhism to whatever, because I feel like in order to really understand every aspect of what I'm doing, I have to understand the people because they're all different and they come from all different ways of life and beliefs. And you can't find a way to work with people if you can't find a way to communicate with them, and you have to understand them. So I try to bring all of it into the fold and be the one, people person that kind of is like, I understand your stuff because I've researched it. And when I ask questions, I can come back with an answer. I can, give a little, take a little. But like you said, if you cross over 2 hours to your side, it's very different because it's so populated now, just like it is in South Florida, that it's just become a metropolis. These little strongholds, these small towns are still very set in their ways. And I have no problem with that. We work well in this town. I love the people here. They've reciprocated very well to what we do. They support us. They invite us to their events. And, there's a lot of history here. This was an outlaw town. So a lot of things have happened.
That's true.
And we're still trying to dig and find stuff because it goes back to the early 1800s. There's not a lot of records, so there's just a lot of research that has to be done. But I find that even in other parts of the country, there's so much stuff. There's so much history. My family is originally from upstate New York. I was born in Rome, New York, but I left my umbilical cord there at a very early age, and I was raised in Miami. So I came to Florida at 4 years old. So this is the only home I really know. But there's a lot of history up north, too. Obviously, you can vouch for that because of where you are and all of the old buildings and all the stuff there. So it's there's a lot there. It's everywhere, you know.
Right. Well, I do believe, like I tell everybody, you never know how much history is in your state until you research it.
Until you start digging around. You know, we have a historical society in our town. Unfortunately, it's been closed for a while because of COVID. I think it opened back up. But if you want to find out anything, you can go right in there and find it. And I was actually shocked. There's a part of my husband's family's history is actually in the historical society in this town, which was like, really? Yeah, his family was tied to Burroughs adding machines. And so there's a couple of them in the Historical Society. I thought that was really cool. But I've also investigated the Historical Society. Oh, God, if anybody's watching this. And, yeah, you know, things go bump in the night there, too, believe it or not.
Well, I think the biggest thing Linda has seen, what I've done, I like to get down and filthy, depending on the subject matter of what I'm going to be establishing. Now, there's a place, I know I've talked about this a few times, but my favorite place in DeLand is a state park called Hontoon Island. Hontoon Island, before European settlers came in, it had a civilization that was 16,000 years old, literally 16,000, not 1,600. And they lived with themselves rather peacefully and everything. Now, there's a place on there called the Shell Mound. Now, I wasn't there. I was just starting out. I was using my phone, and I'm taking footage. I'm using my K2 meter, and Linda is like, "Oh my God," because it was just like it over there. It was just flashing like crazy. I mean, it was pretty interesting. So it's like I'm trying to pay attention with my phone. Then the K2 is going off. The spirit box was going off and all this other stuff. And so, like I said, we're sitting there, we're looking at this. And so but the signal was so strong, it kept my phone on and off. It would just kept my phone going on and off. And Linda was just like, "Whoa, no, stop."
It was. Like it had a lot of activity there.
Wow.
And she's floored by it. She's over the top floored by it. And so the rest of the audience were getting annoyed because the signal was on and off. It's like, "Oh my God, you got to see this." It was on and off. And so it's like, Sam, just take footage. And they cut me off. And they're sitting there like, just turn on, do not stop rolling the tape. Just keep going. But we're not going to get a signal, but keep going.
Right.
And so.
A lot of good videos. So, Sam, do you want to start reading your report?
Only if I have your permission.
Go for it.
Bad joke. All right, let me start doing that. No, that's not the button.
You hit the wrong link.
Okay, this is where I'll. Do you see me now?
I see
All
you.
right. All right, then I'll start off with the report. Southern Cassadaga spiritual camp is that of mystery and intrigue. Cassadaga is a place in Florida within the county of Volusia. It is sort of diverse, and yet it's not. The place has a lot of meaning to a lot of people. In Cassadaga, there's a lot of meaning, but different ways to many different types of people. People say there's a place to lay your hat, or just call it home. Many people consider it a place of mutual understanding, tolerance, and acceptance. It is a place of peace that many and also of faiths that are really diverse. To a degree, whether you think and feel, no matter how you think or feel, you will not be judged negatively, and all are welcome. Part of Cassadaga is called Southern Cassadaga Spiritualist Camp. The place was founded by a gentleman named George P. Colby. Mr. Colby lived from 1848 to 1930.
He froze again. Gotta love the internet.
And he brought about a sort of change in him that started him down the hill of intuitive abilities. He was known for healing abilities and also being a clairvoyant. A clairvoyant is that able to see certain events in the future and beyond. He was told one day that he would start a spiritualist camp in the southern United States. Mr. Colby had left the Baptist Church in 1867 after leaving the visited various spiritualist centers, and was also making a living doing demonstrations in the way of being a medium. He had learned and graciously received the help of spiritual guides. One of the guides was named Seneca. The spirit directed him to go to Wisconsin and to meet with an individual named T.D. Giddings. They found a place in Florida that had 7 hills. In that area in 1880 applied for a homestead grant, and in 1884 he was awarded with 145 acres. He was assisted by people in the place called Lilydale. This was a spiritualist camp in New York. This was mostly done by the founders and Mr. Colby. On a different note, a spiritualist is somebody that is an advocate that spirit exists in a different form of matter, and spirit it is the true reality. In saying this, spiritualism is the potential and possible ability of communication with that of the dead. A spiritualist is someone that defends matter in a whole sense. Science, philosophy, religion, on the idea of life continuing, or even after the great change, death. All beings are that of energy to some degree, especially on that is called the material plane. Once the body has passed away, the energy source of that drives the body continues. The philosophy started in the 1880s. In March 14th of 1991, the place was declared a U.S. historical site. Cassadaga is a Seneca Indian word for water beneath the rocks. People have said it is the psychic capital of the world. People from many parts of the nation and the world come here. Those people come here from very far, at a glance for enlightenment. But as said, Southern Cassadaga Spiritualist Camp is about spiritualism. The laws of conservation of energy support spiritualism. The reason is that matter may neither be created nor destroyed, but it can be changed or transmuted. This is the law of physics that has never been successfully disproven, nor has it been changed and still stays airtight. In many ways, this law of physics can be considered the prime force that drives spiritualists on their commitment of their faith. Certain emotions can come up on the drive certain spirits or entities. Yes.
Let me pause you right there. So, Miss Denise, you have 5 minutes. I was just going to thank you for coming in. I didn't want to interrupt Sam, but...
You are so welcome.
It was very, very nice to meet you, and I hope to do this again. And,
absolutely.
Let us know when your book comes out, and I'd be more than happy to read it.
I'd be more than happy to share it, and I do appreciate you guys very much. Samuel, your report is really interesting, and I hope that people continue to listen to it even after I leave. It touches on so much of the importance of what goes on in the spiritual community known as Cassadaga and all things that go on here in Florida. And it really helps those of us that have gifts, help people have a better understanding of what they are and why we have them. And that I truly do believe that some of us are just naturally blessed with them because that's just how it came about. But it was an honor and a pleasure to be here and to finally meet you. Linda, thank you so much. And I will continue to stay in touch with you guys.
Absolutely. And hope I can get used to out on investigation with your team. And
Absolutely.
I think that would be an absolutely fantastic experience.
We'd like to work with other groups. We take guests on our investigations, and a lot of people have asked that. The only ones that I'm limited to sometimes are some of the in-home investigations on the client side with people that are not in paranormal. But if it's a group or a research group that likes to get involved, we're really open to sharing all that information and taking people along. And we plan to be over on your side of the town soon, Samuel. We've been talking about heading back to St. Augustine area because we did do an investigation there, exclusive investigation in the jail where it was just the team, no guides, no nothing. And that was really interesting. I think it was 2 years ago, but we plan on heading back and we're hoping to either do the lighthouse or go back to the jail. So when we're in the area, we will definitely look you up.
Well,
absolutely.
I would definitely be honored. And if you need contact information, just let me know.
I will.
And it's been, like I said, I repeat myself too damn much, but it's been an honor and a privilege talking
to you. Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate you guys very much having me here.
Not a problem. Thank you so much for coming on and telling us your story. And we'll talk later.
Thank you. Have a good night, everybody.
You too.
Bye-bye.
All right, Sam, I am going to hop you on as full screen. I am going to hop off and give you the floor. I'm going to be in the chat, guys. I won't be gone. I will just be sitting in the background so Samuel could finish continue his report. And I really hope you guys enjoy our first company stream. I am really excited for this. So let me know what you guys think.
Well, I'll take it from here, I guess, where I was. People that have said it is the psychic capital of the world. People from many parts of the nation and the world come here. Those people come here for, at a glance, for enlightenment. But as said, Southern Cassadaga Spiritual Camp is about spiritualism. The law of conservation of energy supports spiritualism. That is the law of physics that matter can neither be created nor destroyed, but can be changed or transmuted. This law of physics has never been successfully disproven or changed and still stays airtight to this day. In many ways, this law of physics can be considered the prime force that drives spiritualists on the commitment of their faith. Certain emotions can come up that drive certain spirits or entities to do various things. They can also affect certain things such as batteries, cell phones, cameras, and other things that require energy. Supernatural entities can take energy from us in this form of emotions. Oftentimes, higher levels of vibrations can be activated with strong emotions: happiness, joy, love, gratitude. Those emotions can carry on and do wonders for entities, spirits, and whatever energies carries on, which helps anything and everything. In certain ways, spirituality is the concept of embracing and benefiting all. Added on to that, the effects of these emotions and energies have a lasting effect on everything. A psychic is used to describe someone that is able to do things in a sort of supernatural way. Many psychics can be said to predict the future, also to understand how know what a person is and thinking, and to send and receive messages from those that have passed away. So many of those abilities cannot be classified as modern science as to how they are able to do that sort of thing. Another description of being psychic is called intuitive. People that are considered to be intuitive is a sort of having a gut instinct that is considered right about many different subjects, but cannot be explained by conventional examples. Associated with ESP, extrasensory perception. It is also known in odd ways, such as a child knowing about times and situations where the child would have no clue or have been there to know the details of the incident. Then there is the concept of empathy too. Empathy is the ability to understand someone on an emotional level because of the similar experiences of conventional science. Empaths are different in theory. They understand people on an emotional level and can feel what the person feels without even having any experience that was involved in the situation. They can understand joy, happiness, anger, rage, sadness, pain, and many other things. They can go into a room full of people and feel overwhelmed because of the different emotions and experiences of what they're all having. Many empaths do what they can to solve those problems so that person of empathy does not feel those emotions and maybe one is feeling. In Cassadaga, faith healing is not just of one faith. People that are in this world, there are various other types of faiths and practices that may be considered looked down upon and also held in high regard. One of those practices, something is called faith healing. It's considered to be activated through prayer and certain gestures. Another theory is that it is used in divine intervention. It is theorized that people summon a spirit or spirits, even sometimes that of a higher being, to allow the entity to work through them. Let me try to get my place. Some speculate that faith healing can be used to cure a disability or permanent conditions that Western medical science has said has been incurable. Many faiths have claimed to use that faith healing. Certain Christian sects, Islam, Buddhism, Scientology, many others. The reason most people turn to faith healing is because they've exhausted the resources that Western medical sources has. Well, basically, Western medical sources have not been able to do. Next part of this is mostly word of mouth. A group of people in just every corner of the earth is the LGBTQ community. Cassadaga, like I said, has a neutral type feel to it. People that are of this community are welcome here. They do not get bad-mouthed and looked down upon. People that go there are welcomed universally. The residents there do not look down on anyone and are over-the-top respectful as long as it is returned. They do not care what kind of stuff. They see people as human beings and treat them accordingly. Like if anyone has to get attacked in some sort of, the residents call the police and step in and consider the seriousness. Like as mentioned before, people in this community are welcomed in a neutral aspect because they are human beings. And a general way of saying all this, Cassadaga allows you to be yourself in anything and everything you do. You can wear a cross, an ankh, a Star of David, or even a pentacle. You are welcome there. People that have certain abilities, if you think about it, are by no means unwelcome. You're free to be yourself and sometimes help others out if you choose to. Even people that have gifts they come in and to get a reading done, and even sometimes to question themselves if they're the real thing or not. You have another community, the LGBTQ community. Most people that want to know where they belong there in a simple way, how they fit in. They do a lot of soul searching and find their identity and to find out the place. Cassadaga that has done that before with many people from all walks of life. One of the many sites there is the Fairy Trail. The trail is the beginnings of the corner of Seneca and Chauncey. Over there lives an entire fantasy group of people, pixies, gnomes, salamanders, and others. People call them elementals. Many, mainly because they've been on Earth for a very long time. Oftentimes, they're also called fairies. Fairies have certain appearances that resemble humans. A sense of mischief, and with magical powers that are known and unknown of their full potential. The trail has a lot of things that belong to people that would have been thrown out. Instead, they were given the purpose of making the trail and to give it a certain charm. Many people walk in, they see some sort of entrance that most people are unable to imagine. Walking in, you have knickknacks, charms, and even toys of various kinds that no one else uses. In a certain way, people feel positively stunned. It has been a calming factor to it, and at times people feel better when they leave. People sometimes have been known to leave offerings for the elementals to sometimes get answers or even clarity for their day-to-day struggles. Another thing that people are able to do is spiritual investigations. A person that does that sort of thing can start sort of a class and give explanations and give background stories as to what spiritualism and the effects of certain emotions have on the living and everything else. Then there is the start of the walk as to where the resident of the spiritual camp takes you through. During the day, you may pass through certain places and not even think anything of them. But at the night, the spiritual camp is a different feel. People feel different, and nothing during the tour is nothing of a group feeling, but is mostly individual and different individual feelings. Taking pictures is strongly encouraged and to take lots of them. People come from various types of cameras, regular cameras, phone cameras. As said before, all results of what is taken picture-wise is individual. Some of these images can be taken of potential fairies, different colored orbs, and sometimes even ectoplasm. Then there comes the Devil's Chair, which is actually a Lake Helen, but sort of Cassadaga sort of thing to do. The legend of legends of the Devil's Chair is mostly word of mouth by local folklore. According to legend, people say that if you sit in a chair, the Prince of Darkness will grant you a minor miracle in exchange for your soul. People that I have met that have sat in it have had health problems or have claimed to have health problems after sitting in it. Another part of the legend is that the chair every single morning, if none have sat in it during the day, there's skeptics. Let me try and reread that again. Many people that I have met that have sat in it have had bad health problems or have claimed to have bad health problems after sitting in it. Another part of the legend is that the ash is on the chair every single morning if no one has sat in it. There are skeptics that are also residents that say that the legend has been made up. What is interesting is that most of the residents that do not want to name that said the legend has been made up to draw in more tourists. Often at times, people that have said that they have seen dark figures that come from various parts of shadows during the day. The church in Cassadaga is that of neutral ground, and everyone is welcome. The church is called the Colby Memorial Temple, is on Stevens Street. It is not that of one faith and one concept. It is of anything and everything. And speakers, musical, and messages from the heart, and is meant to be that of the individual. Within that church lies the seance room. The seance room has been there since 1923. The main purpose of the room is to communicate with the dead. It is rumored that to have rivers of ectoplasm through its interior, along with strange shapes and spirits that many revolve around the living and those that communicate with the living. Many different people that have communication between that of the living and that of the dead say that the room in the church, say that the veil is between those two worlds is already thin, but even thinner in that room than most people realize. When you can say a ritual is done, no written record is kept within that room. The people that go there to do this believe that privacy, and this is out of respect to the other person who is wanting this done. By word of mouth, seemingly every seance is an individual experience. As mentioned before, there is no written record of the ritual. And another thing is that not allowed is anything of recording device. People are asked not to do this, but also out of respect for not just the living's privacy, but also privacy towards the deceased. The Cassadaga Hotel is another landmark. The hotel was built in 1901, and a lot of vintage type things, such as the circling sofa that dates back to 1883. Many types of retro lamps that are almost impossible to find, and even beautiful tapestries. The hotel burned to the ground in 1925, but was rebuilt in 1927. Many people have claimed to see spirits or even entities there. Some have claimed to have seen a man in a black suit that was sort of like close to being transparent. Children are not allowed to stay overnight in a hotel, but because they can be disruptive and sometimes destructive. But with all this, guests have questioned hotel workers and the owner on why they allow children at the hotel. Several different people claim to see orbs. Many people that are intuitive or psychic schedule readings within the hotel. Some are certified and some are not, but all are talented. Many people go to the hotel for various reasons. Some of them obviously go to spend a quiet night at the hotel. Many people go to the hotel to do business with intuitive people, and others go to the hotel to spend a bit of time looking for adventure and what they regard in the way of strange, supernatural, and unknown. In a general sense, the founders, especially Mr. Colby, found a place that was the start of the ideals and concepts of spiritualism. Over the decades and further, he did not find a place that was strictly of spiritualism. He found a place that was of everyone. Southern Cassadaga Spiritualist Camp is that of neutral ground, but at the same time as an oasis for those that are different. The history and is rich the history is rich with all parts of the camp. There are things to do that involve not just the supernatural, but also a place that is a haven for many groups, including the LGBTQ community also. They have wanted something to coexist with everyone. There are those that have supernatural abilities and people that very few people have on the planet. And then there are those of a higher calling to become part of the camp, and those that wish to protect the camp. There are activities that are not to stimulate the spirit, but of the mind. Certain attractions you can get anywhere in most of the South and Florida reside there. The place goes beyond expectation and haunting people, but that of the ability of welcoming those from the far and wide. So, what do you guys think?
That was really, really good. Thinking says the information is very interesting. He enjoyed it. And then he goes, why do you think Samuel is being frozen at times? Well, that's because of where he is in Florida. And that is also because internet sucks.
Yes.
So, what experience did you have with when you went to the Devil's Chair? How did you feel about that?
Well, it's not that I'm for or against the devil. Not for him, not against him. But if he wants something of his own, I will let him have something of his own. And if he wants that chair to himself, he can have the chair to himself. I'm not intruding on his property. And so if I have no desire to make the guy mad or any demon or whatever, I will show my respect and keep my ass off of it.
Mm-hmm.
So, but in all honesty, I met but in a more serious way, I met a lot of people that have had problems after sitting in it. And people that have gotten hurt, people that have gotten sick. I've heard people have mental breakdowns, all kinds of things. Mm-hmm. Now, added on to it, that graveyard, keep that in mind, with that graveyard, you could be taking pictures. You could be taking pictures here and there, and you can freshly charge your camera with a digital camera, have it freshly charged, and as good, if not great, as your camera is, it can become a big paperweight within minutes after being there.
It drains.
That's an understatement. That's a polite understatement. It's effective, but yeah. You go there, like I said, you go there, you are to expect the unexpected whenever it comes, that sort of thing. What else would you guys like to
know? Hold on, let's see. It's silent. Hello. Oh, Thinking says hi. He's back here. Thinking did comment earlier on, and this is sad. I just read it. Not far from his house, the Army Corps of engineers flooded the city. Now bodies are coming up out of the lake. That is sad. That is really sad to hear.
Where's this at?
This is in Georgia.
Wow.
So that was pretty sad. If you guys have any questions for Samuel, please put them in the chat. I have been writing down. The only one that I have was the Frozen in Time. But
well, I did do a ghost tour. I did do a ghost tour recently, and I loved every bit of it. They had a information sort of thing that you had in the beginning. You go in there. And you go in there and they show you the power of emotions and this and that and everything, how it can stimulate things and in an electrical sort of way. But what's interesting is whenever you get out there and you start walking here and there, Linda and Chad can tell you something dramatic. Whenever they saw my pictures, there was just a few orbs, just a little tiny. No, there was a lot. There was a lot of orbs. Now, on those pictures with the orbs, some of them here and there were very, very different and very unique, very different. Most people that follow me and Chad and Linda and the paranormal community, they'll see orbs here and there. And orbs are...
Every now and then you'll see orbs fly across my head or in front of my face, behind me. They're everywhere.
And everything. Well, the thing is that you see those orbs over there, and people will say they see like a really light color blue or very shaded white. Now, what you could be seeing over there are brown orbs. Brown orbs. You can sit there and see it, and it's like, what the heck? You're sitting there and you're looking at it. There are all these orbs all over the place here and there. You could take two pictures. And one, there's nothing. The exact second later, you see 15 orbs at the same time. You could see brown ones, red ones, and this and that. Now, you keep walking on that tour. You keep walking down that tour. There is a lake. Gorgeous, gorgeous lake. And it also is close to a gazebo. But they take you out there and they tell you to stand. On this indentation on the ground. And you close your eyes. You hold your hands up like this, but more spread out, of course. And you hold them and close your eyes and let people take pictures. Guess what? You're going to have some company. Most people did. And
you actually caught it in 2 pictures.
I caught more than that. You should have seen the rest.
Oh, I saw it. Yeah.
And there was a lot. And there were other people. The other people were having a lot more than that. And so if you're going out there and you're seeing all of this, you're seeing these orbs left and right, energies coming up left and right. You're taking a look at it, and it's coming all over the place. Now, that's part of it. Now, this is different for a lot of people. You go over there, and this is not just stereotypical, but people that have a bad day before going to Cassadaga, they find some amount of peace. And they go there, they find some amount of peace, and they feel better. It's like they're having a stressful day. They can go from wicked to neutral in that sort of way, and they calm down. It's like they feel a sense of, why was I acting so crazy and this and that, and they calm down and tone down dramatically. Mm-hmm. And they calm down, and they tone down. And people go there and this and that. Then you see buildings having this happen, that happen. The history is over the top. Now, the thing is with Cassadaga, most people don't understand this. It's not that they are for this. It's not that they are for that. They're more along the lines of neutral territory. They're more along the lines of spiritually neutral territory over there. And with that neutrality, you're welcome to do what you want. You can spend your money and this and that. Just don't act like an idiot. Don't ruin our town. Just have some common sense and enjoy, and we will be just fine. And It's very rare, if ever, you hear people acting like foolish on that sort of thing. And so, like I said, you go there and things are a little better.
So Thinking had a question. Samuel, have the spirits swayed you not to move out of Florida?
It's not necessarily that. I get where people are coming from. it's not necessarily the spirits. It's just, I guess you can say, I want to change. I want to change. I want something different and everything. I had two places I had in mind. My lovely hosts, I will never name their names, but they were nothing more. I don't know, but they're invisible. But they were pretty darn good to me through thick and thin, and they still continue to be that and everything. And I'm sitting there like, oh, God, if they're all like that, I don't know what to do. Then I have my friends that are in Oregon, and they have been amazing too. My ex-wife is there, and me and my ex-wife are very great friends now. And so the thing was I have certain advantages here and there of this and that. But the thing is, if things don't work out in Oregon, I know two people will take me in, but I can't remember their names. I just can't. But the thing is that with Maryland, there is charm, there is this, there is that. But back to what I was saying while Miss Denise was on there and everything, there are some wonders and there are some genuine horrors that have happened in Central Florida and this and that. Some of them are great. Some of them are fantastic. Some of them are of a darker nature that I will never discuss with any of you because I care about you. But the thing is, the Smith family have always been excellent to me. Even just barely talking, especially me and Linda, our tail ends are just talking up a storm until our throats get sore.
Yeah.
Now, Chad has been a champion to me and everything, and has been nothing more than great to me. And it's like me and him started a bromance of really good friends, sitting there talking smack and this and that. And some reason, you two have been nothing more than a brilliant couple. And it's like, where the hell do I find more of these people at? Where the hell do I find them?
Sorry, we're one of a kind. I don't think you can clone us, can you? We're not a clonable couple, are we?
That's the thing. I can't find enough great people like you. I have to find different people. If you guys were cloned to Holy Hell, yeah, my tail end would be moving over there. But in all honesty, with all that in Florida, it's an adventure, but you've got to take a lot of things in consideration through thick and thin. In Florida, the place is not easy, but it's a challenge and everything. Central Florida is different because one minute it can range from part political to science to various cultures and this and this. Nothing is in Central Florida. Nothing is universal. Nothing is the same. And it's amazing, but you got to be careful. But Cassadaga is spiritually the oasis of the desert.
Yeah. So Mom, being smart as she is, says he can't handle the cold in Maryland. That is why he's not leaving Florida. Well, if you haven't listened, he actually is, but he's not coming to Maryland. So,
but with the people that I met, the few people that I met in Maryland, it's like, well, if you people were all the same, that would have been no problem. That would have been no big deal. I would have been over there. Mm-hmm. But as rules go on, you got to follow your lease of this and that, and you have to stay true to it and thought through it, and you have to stick to it.
That's understandable.
And so, another thing also, like I said, if you're doing an adventure, whatever you want to call it, no matter what you want to sit there and call anything, you have to be prepared. And every single time I go to Haunted Island, I bundle up, pack up tight, and I stick to what I'm saying. And that's part of Florida, is being prepared. And Chad and Linda welcomed that completely with hugely open arms.
Absolutely.
They opened up the concept of it. And so that's how it went. That's how it goes, and that's how it went. The teachings of Florida can be universal. And how can I put this? People that from all places, you will learn a lot. But in the town of Cassadaga,
Yeah, froze. Come back.
It's hugely, they're all over the place faith-wise. And so you're forced to have an open mind there.
Yeah. So before I do our ending video, because we are almost to that point, we did wonderful. If you guys enjoy this, please subscribe either on Twitch or YouTube. You can also check us up on our Facebook. We do have a company site. It is kind of long, but you can find us under the Smith Family Paranormal. And if you are interested in joining our team and branching out and finding out what is in your state, please let us know. If you are interested in going on investigations, please let us know. We'd be more than happy to add you to our team. Right now, there's just the four of us, including me, Chad, Samuel, and Tiffany. Tiffany is our daughter. She will be helping with the advertisement part. Samuel being our researcher, and Chad and I will be doing our research and investigations as well as Samuel. So if you would like to be part of that, please let us know. And Austin, but Austin really doesn't do too much. I mean, he likes the explore part. I don't know. He'll get there. But again, if you guys would like, please let us know. You can do through Facebook or our business site. I did just add a lot more content to our shop as well down here, so you guys can check that out. If there's any other questions, please let us know. Our next show is the Inner Courts coming up this Thursday. You guys can check that out. And then the following Thursday, I will have my report, or should I say Chad and I, because I do the research, he does the reading. So you guys can check us there. Please stay tuned. I am going to get ready to play the video, and this video has all of the pictures that Samuel has took on his tour and his research for this report. But I do appreciate everybody coming in, love and support. So, long link. Samuel, if you would like to go ahead and mute yourself, I will go ahead and play this. Hello, Samuel. Okay.
I'm just awake. I'm awake now.
So I hope you guys enjoyed the pictures that Samuel did. We do greatly appreciate all the work that he does. His pictures are great. He has had some absolutely great experiences and report, and his wording is on point. So we are going to get ready to hop off. You guys, if you are not on our company Facebook, which is Smith Family Paranormal, go ahead and hop over there and share a like and a thumbs up. I will be putting all of the report stuff from here, pictures and all, over there as of tonight. So if you guys want to go back and, zoom into a picture, the lady that's out there like this is the one that Samuel's talking about right here on her side in the grassy area. You do see a figure. So that was pretty cool. And you caught that in both the pictures that you took of her. So that was fantastic. But until keep you safe and healthy. Yes. Thank you. You're so sweet. But until then, I will see you guys on the next. Stay safe and healthy. And we love you all. Bye. Samuel, don't go nowhere.